I would like to submit this skeleton I found in my backyard as an NFT. Thank you.
Lore Boys here, dusting off the bones of long-dead animals and guessing what they may have looked like. My name is Peter O'Donohue, and I'd like to start with a question. Do vegans consider paleontology to be grave robbing? Text your answer to 403-823-7707. Joining me in giving out publicly available phone numbers for museums are...
James Miller. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah. I googled it, and I googled 403-823-7077. Was that what it was?
7707.
77. Okay, 7077 is Dan Shelby from Drumheller.
Don't
dude.
According to Google.
I gotta delete that though.
The phone number itself is for the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller, Alberta.
Cool.
So I mean, like you need to call them, book a ticket, or go out on their like little fossil finding mission, which I did when I was 11.
They just recently opened an old sarcophagus from Egypt, and it's a real long process because it is considered grave robbing to open a lot of this stuff, and like whether or not you should open it or you should just leave it closed forever, it's not easy to just pop.
But like a mummy's a person. The reason I posit that vegans would think that fossils are grave robbing is because they're animals.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you want a serious answer, vegans don't believe that animals are people. They just believe that, they might feel things.
I was unclear on that part, actually.
I think it was.
I got to throw away all my chicken.
I think it was King Tut. No, sorry, it was Ramses II. Was an unearthed pharaoh who, when the British, of course, it was the British who cracked him open. Wanted to transport him to the Royal Museum in London.
Oh, I know
they
this.
had to give him a passport.
Yeah, there's a passport with a mummy on the picture.
It's got a picture of a mummified face. Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking bureaucrats are such fucking losers,
right?
Like, can you believe there's probably just like, oi, you got a license for that, mummy? And just like, it's just like, what are they gonna naturalize him when he's fucking there? Like he's an immigrant? Like, what the fuck?
You gotta get a passport for your Kabutops to go to Johto or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny that you mentioned that. So, continuing on from Ethan's Pokemon creation myth episode, I'll be covering the ancient Pokemon Earth and the fossil Pokemon, along with a lot of real-world paleontology. Really, this is just an excuse for me to talk about something that I love almost more than anything. Like, if I was better at going to school, I would not be an artist. I would not be a podcast host. I would be like digging bones out of the desert. Like the natural history of the earth and animals is the thing that I love more than anything at all. Like zero competition. This is my shit.
That's cool.
Sometimes you got to be thankful that Dara doesn't listen to the show, huh?
Yeah.
In high school,
I'm a real cougar guy. If Dara was 100 million years old, I love me.
In high school, like we got to do like a preview of university where they sent us for like a week before we were like actually old enough to go or whatever. And I did a week of archaeology, and I found it super interesting, but don't remember anything from it now.
So paleontology is there is a scientific Venn diagram basically of archaeology and geology, and the overlapping section is paleontology, which is what we're going to get into now. And that's the thing that I find like much more fascinating, because paleontology stops with modern humans, so like 200,000 years ago, because that becomes anthropology, where you're starting to kind of study the world that humans have started to affect.
What's studying the future?
Futurology?
Stock trading? I don't fucking know. Crypto bros?
Yeah.
We're gonna get into in this one here. Like this is great that Ethan did the myth so that I could do prehistory, because I've been looking for an excuse to do essentially just a like Victorian era paleontology episode since Pokemon Sword and Shield came out, despite having not played them. And we're going to get into that later on, like why I wanted to do that, just like kind of combining in my interests here. But yeah, we're going to be doing the fossil Pokemon.
I'll bring Fossil back to life. What does that scientist on Cinnabar Island do?
So what we're going to be doing now is going to be wrapping education in entertainment, a lot like the show like Life After People, which is just an educational show about erosion, but they like sex it up by telling you that like, whoa, the Statue of Liberty fell over because janitors don't exist anymore, like sort of thing. So like our Earth, Pokemon Earth has seemingly gone through multiple geological phases and multiple stages of natural evolution, along with the more sci-fi fantasy Pokemon evolution, right? Because there are extinct animals on Pokemon Earth, and like Pokemon evolution can happen through various means, where that's like a very quick change in an animal's biology and physiology. But like that kind of happens through training or being exposed to magic rocks, take a drink, or like being in the right place at the right time, or in some cases passing through a Game Boy Color link cable, right? like a lot of different things can trigger Pokemon evolution, because it is very much like a science fantasy universe with a lot of our own stuff kind of like as a foundation.
I love the idea of like scientists theorizing what it's like to go through a link cable. There's an idea called spaghettification, and
you'd have like a Da Vinci diagram where a link cable is like 400 feet long, because that is like the only thing that he could imagine. Is just like, well, no, to get an animal to go through this, obviously.
All they see is a dark rectangle, and as you get closer, you approach the singularity, which is copper wire, and then you go into you come out the other side of the wormhole to some guy's Pokedex where he's named everyone Dick or something like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The Big Bang is mostly focused around like where we all got our copper wire, right? Like that's how we age stars is their proximity to copper wire.
Yeah, redshift, like copper's red. I'm pretty sure that's
that's it.
Yeah. Really more of a chrome beige, I would say, but
a chrome
stupid.
What the hell's chrome beige?
I don't know. Just think what copper looks like.
I guess so. That sounds like it could be a cool dragon, a chrome beige dragon.
Chrome beige dragon. That sounds like an extremely lame dragon. Agree to disagree.
So nature itself in the Pokemon universe is pretty similar to ours. Ancient animals in Pokemon have just been replaced by Pokemon that look like our current like ancient animals, in the same way wildlife has been replaced by Pokemon in game, like birds and snakes and plants and shit like that.
Is it confirmed that Pokemon like evolve? Do you know?
Sort of.
Not rapidly.
In game.
Yeah.
But
through generations.
Yeah. Not like a level 16, level 36 sort of thing. Yes. The fossil Pokemon really are not part of a like lore-wise,
they did the
ecological web.
They did the island thing, right? Like where there's different types of like, there's an Executor, but there's also the Executor that's like really tall because it lived on an island for its whole life, like Darwin's finches or whatever.
Darwin's Executors.
There are regional variations that started with Sun and Moon. I want to say
that implies evolution, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are regional variants where, like, yes, Tropical Executor is taller and is a different type. It's like Grass Dragon instead of Grass Psychic. And, like, Muck is Poison Dark instead of just straight up Poison, like, sort of thing. So, yes, regional variants kind of, like, explain evolution better than fossil Pokemon do, shockingly, because fossil Pokemon are really more, like, interesting little, like, carnival attractions more than anything. Like, I guess like through the game, it's just like, wow, here's a neat animal that's 500 million years old. What if you could put it like have a cage fight with a rat, sort of thing. with a modern rat. So taking inspiration from Michael Crichton's.
These ain't your grandma's rats. These are modern rats. Rat can't use bite. Yeah.
Kid Rock sunglasses and hat on a rat. Hat on a rat. So taking inspiration from Michael Crichton's novel Jurassic Park, the way to acquire fossil Pokemon is by cloning them, using what is called in real science body fossils. These being different from trace fossils, which would be things like footprints or eggshells or poop in most cases, basically. Cool. So even like just a fossilized claw is a body fossil, whereas like an eggshell would be a trace fossil, and obviously like a footprint. Or like a snake would leave like a track in the sand that could fossilize is also a trace fossil, basically.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we're saying that Pokemon don't have DNA because the reason why like we can't clone like fossilized remains is because like DNA degrades after like 30-ish years or so.
Well, there's a whole breeding system, isn't there, where you can get like certain traits to pop up based on their parents. So DNA might be a thing.
Yeah, the competitive like eugenics thing for Pokemon is like its own episode, pretty much. Because if you look at the fossil Pokemon, their percentage is like 80% male, 20% female. That is because for competitive reasons, you need female Pokemon because they lay their own eggs. So your father Pokemon will pass on like different attacks in some cases, and also his positive traits, and then also the mother will pass on her positive traits, but she's the one who lays the egg, so that's the Pokemon you get. So that's why all the starter Pokemon are predominantly male, is to encourage grind and like fake resets, basically.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you want like a top tier Charizard, you need a female Charmander, and you have like a 20% chance of getting one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to canonize that in a way. I don't know how to do it yet.
I'm saying Lore Boy's canon is to encourage grind, personally.
I mean, yeah, that's the game, right? Like every aspect of the game is to encourage grind.
Lore Boy's canon, 3 out of 4 of every Charmanders can't find a mate.
Yeah, Kanto had a 1 Charmander policy for a long time up until their birth rate declined.
Yeah.
So cloning these Pokemon is done by different people depending on what game you're playing. The most popular would be the lab on Cinnabar Island, which you guys mentioned either in a different audio track or earlier in this episode. I don't remember.
Yep. Like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. This lab blew up between generations 1 and 2, so like red, blue, gold, silver. The volcano on Cinnabar Island erupted and basically incinerated and killed everybody.
Okay, cool. And with it all the cloning tech, or?
It is the the eruption of the volcano on Cinnabar Island is the in-game explanation as to why Generation 2 did not introduce new fossil Pokemon. Gen 2 and Gen 7 are the only generations of Pokemon to not introduce new fossils.
Why didn't they show us that in the cartoon? All the people running and like being engulfed by magma and like screaming.
Yeah.
The entire Pokemon episode where the gang struggles with like a tsunami warning.
Yeah.
Who knew Cinnabar was based on Pompeii, right?
Yeah.
All the Ponytas running out of that weird building too. Like,
who's the gym leader on Cinnabar Island? He's like encased in magma, like beating off in a bathroom. Oh, is it Blake?
It's Blaine. That's it.
Blaine. Yeah, that's right.
I was like, I know it's like Blaze, but not.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I remember.
So, just because the Pokemon Earth and our Earth are so similar, we're going to get into a little bit of history of the of paleontology as a science.
Boring. Wait, when this part's done, I want to talk about Pokemon, dude.
Okay. Greek philosopher Xenophanes of Colophon, which sounds like he's named after like butt stuff, basically.
Colophon.
Yeah, well, Xenophanes of Colophon. He had recognized that some of the shell-shaped rocks that he had been finding around like where he was living were indeed the remains of dead like shellfish, like clams and scallops and oysters and whatnot. And he had theorized at some point that the land he was standing on must have been near or under the ocean, right? Like he must have been standing on some kind of ancient seabed. I don't really want to destroy anybody's confidence out there, but a man who died 480 years before the birth of Christ found some shells on the beach and was totally correct. So like, what have you done recently? Like, like straight up, that is exactly what happened.
I mean, it's like who was it? Like Pythagoras, who like calculated the circumference of the Earth within like it was something ridiculous, like within a kilometer.
Yeah, because the Earth is what, like the circumference is like 24,000 kilometers, right, or something like that.
I'm not sure, but he did with a stick and the sun. He just like measured the shadow in different locations. It was like, yeah, no, it's this big, and then like hundreds or thousands of years later, we get the technology to like launch satellites up into orbit, and we're like, oh yeah, no, he was right.
And thousands of years later, we have just as many people as before believing in a flat Earth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. honestly, probably like gross. We almost definitely have more now.
Yeah,
like,
but like
not percentage wise.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely not percentage wise, but definitely like gross, just because there's so many more people on Earth than there was in 2500 BC.
Probably back then, people weren't asking that question as much. They're like, how do I feed my kids? Not, what is the shape of this place I live? People didn't need to have an opinion on it. You know what I mean? They had other worries.
Yeah. How do I appease the gods?
Yeah.
I would love to see like whatever, like Bronze Age Greek Twitter, where like people are just like the reply guys to Pythagoras are just
yeah, if you're 25 years old, you're like considered old. Like, what are you doing on Twitter, boomer? You're 25.
Yeah. So centuries after Xenophanes would come up with this theory that the place he was standing on was an ancient seabed. Leonardo da Vinci also published or had like writings that he actually did not publish. I'm sorry. That he had come to the same conclusion. Again, they were both very close to being correct. They didn't know why, but with like plate tectonics and the way that the land actually shifts, Xenophanes was correct. He was standing on an ancient seabed that had been lifted out of the ocean, or the amount of ice on the planet had changed that had drained water directly out of the oceans and stored it in the ice caps or in glaciers or something like that. So the ocean had either gone down or where he was in Greece had just moved. Basically. Yeah.
Fun fact about Leonardo da Vinci, actually. He
actually. It's very fun.
Yeah, very fun. He never invented it. He was never able, well, like, we don't know that he ever invented it, but he did draw out a like working model of the Pokemon storage system. Actually, there's like old manuscripts where he basically has outlined a computer that you could store Pokemon on.
Right. You got the, what is it, Vitruvian Man?
Yeah, the Vitruvian Man, exactly.
Yeah. The Vitruvian Machamp. Excuse me.
The forearms. Yeah. Gonna ask someone to write that down so I don't forget.
Oh, that's good.
In the 11th century, Persian scientist Abu Ali Sina tried to explain why fossils were made of stone.
Wait, Persian like the Pokemon?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a scientist who just studies big cats, or
yes.
Okay. All right.
No, he's in old-timey Iraq. He wrote kind of like an encyclopedia sort of thing called the Book of Healing, and he kind of modified a theory that Aristotle had come up with called petrifying fluids, which is why he was like, well, fossils are clearly, like, why are seashells now made of rock? It's kind of like this fifth humor, I suppose. Like, you've got all the different biles, and now he's got like, well, there's petrifying fluids, which is, again, like very like Born in the Wrong Decade problems. So fucking close. Like so close. If he was not born, if he didn't die in like 1097, he would have known exactly what the fuck was going on, right? Like so close. Fossils form through a process called permineralization, and this is when like organic material is buried or covered and protected, basically. And as it decomposes, it is replaced, like the little gaps as it decomposes is replaced directly with minerals carried by water. So this has like given us really like super fucking high-res fossils of bacteria or plants, mainly. Like permineralization is mainly like a plant fossil thing opposed to an animal fossil thing.
Okay.
But his theory of like petrifying fluids was like absolutely correct, like correct direction, just like did not have all the facts because it was 1097.
When I die, do not pour out a beer or like alcohol or anything, pour out a Perrier right on my body because I
Mineral water, baby.
I want that high res Jamie for the future.
I know. My pilled buddy, still, assuming he's not dead, I have no idea what's happening. Still drinks mineral water, thinking it is protecting him from COVID.
Oh, good.
Yeah, mineral water.
They put doesn't he know all those bubbles contain 5G?
5G, yeah. Within the same century, Shen Kuo in Song Dynasty China came up with a theory of gradual climate change after finding fossilized bamboo in an area of China that at his time was too dry to grow bamboo. Unlike the other guys that I've spoken about, where they're kind of in the right direction or kind of on the money, Shen Kuo was completely correct. Climate change is absolutely a part of nature, and I would like someone to clip that and send it to an oil company before I say that humans and their industries have clearly made things much, much worse.
I mean, yeah, climate change is the problem. Doing 10,000 years worth of climate change in 150 years is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Giving the environment or the animals time to adapt is the problem.
Moving is not a problem, but driving at 500 miles per hour on a highway, that's a problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, clip that, send it to Exxon, whatever. I'll be their guy. I'll sell out. But yeah, his theory was he had found fossilized bamboo in the kind of rock strata, which are different layers, in his area of China, and was just well, it's too dry now, and bamboo doesn't grow here anymore. So clearly, the weather changed, and he was completely correct. The movement of the continents and the change in the atmosphere, changes in the atmosphere, and again how much water is stored in glaciers and in the ice caps changes everything on the planet. And again, this is just some guy working in the 1090s just had a beat on it and
figuring it out.
Yeah, exactly. If found very old branches and was just I got an idea.
So actually, I think I could solve this problem we have of climate change. Because if there's too much water, that'll be the problem, right? Whenever everything melts. So what we do is we get one of those Canada space arms with a bucket on the end, and we get a satellite just to scoop buckets out of the ocean.
What, do you want to bail out the planet?
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Yeah,
a canoe.
Yeah.
It's one solution, we'll say, right?
Yeah. Or t-shirt cannons where we just shoot the water straight into space, kind of thing.
Cool.
That could be fun.
I mean, what you're saying is less stupid than something Bill Gates, alleged pedophile, recently talked about, which was filling the atmosphere with chalk to reflect sunlight.
I mean, that's a real thing, though. I know it's been discussed. Silver filings too is apparently one that it brings its own problems, but it would introduce a cooling effect, essentially.
Yeah, can you imagine the paper mache sludge that would rain down after a year of blasting chalk into the atmosphere instead of just fucking polluting less?
Yeah, that's the real rub. It's all these billionaires saying oh, we should do this, we should do that. It's no, you should probably just stop killing the planet, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it would kind of help the education system too, because chalk would rain from the sky, so they'd have to spend less money on supplies.
Yeah, true.
And I think if teachers had free chalk and the planet was cooler, then we'd be fine.
Yeah. Don't just pay them more by default because they educate children.
Oh, God no.
We'll set up every elementary school with a free government supplied chalk residue collector, and they can just make their own chalk out of a trough that I guess just hangs off the window like a flower box.
I, at this point they're buying their own chalk, so I'm assuming that this
that's true,
would be in lieu of a raise, right?
Does your wife have to buy her own chalk?
I for sure have chalk in these drawers right next to my.
Oh my God.
She doesn't that often, but if she wanted colored chalk, she would have to.
Oh my God! You can't put in a purchase order to the school for 75 cents for chalk.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Anyway, the children are our future, so that's we all gotta care about each other. I know, in on Discord at some point, I had seen a photo that someone had posted, or maybe I had seen it on Twitter and reposted it, which was just real time footage of all the private jets leaving the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, yeah.
Oh,
it was just it was just remember to recycle, everyone. Like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's
I'll totally go for it.
There was like
We're the
one
problem.
millionaire who's going up to northern Quebec. Which one was that guy? Like, there was
I
everyone.
think it was like layover in
Kuujjuaq.
Yeah, I mean, I guess layover in like Newfoundland or something to get to like Russia was my guess when I saw him going that way. I was like, oh, I think he's like tracking around there.
He was the only one not going to New York or California or Texas.
Pretty much,
basically.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to skip over the not just because we're a bunch of burned out old hippies who just are so sad about the climate. We'll get back to the kind of like we'll get into the Victorian era stuff, which is very wacky because the medieval science is obviously like, you know, like good going champ sort of thing, but does kind of feel a little bit like we're like patronizing these people for being born 1,000 years ago and like not knowing these things. The Victorian era stuff is great, and it will factor in heavily towards the end of the episode. Cool. So now that we're done with kind of modern paleontology, we'll get back to Pokemon. The first fossils that gamers would have encountered are the dome and the Helix
fossil.
Yeah, Lord Helix, dude. Praise.
Yeah.
Bless up. In Mount Moon, which is one of the areas the players need to go through, they'll be given a choice between the two fossils after defeating the super nerd, who is just a scientist in a cave, and you kick the shit out of his pets and take his rocks.
He still gets to keep one, though. He's like, okay, you get one. I'm going to get the other one. I'm out of here.
Yeah. This is it.
To be fair, he was a guy who discovered them in a cave. Like, he probably did have the rights to both. The fact that he's given you one is pretty generous.
So, funnily enough, I didn't put this in, but I watched a video about it earlier. Fossil rights transfer to the person that owns the land that they were discovered on. So there are certain things like mineral rights or like resources that are not kind of directly transferable to the person that like owns the land. Fossils are owned by the person that owns the land.
Do you find it in Mount Moon or Ancient Tunnel? I forget.
Mount Moon.
So Mr. Moon owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever owns Mount Moon, exactly.
The Clefables.
It's a Clefable with a fake mustache and a top hat.
The Rothschilds, the Clefables, they're like all the big industry families. The dome fossil can be resurrected to a Pokemon called Kabuto, which we talked about earlier. Kabuto is just named after the Japanese word for helmet, and is like a little kind of like beetle Pokemon based off the still living horseshoe crab and a trilobite. Trilobites are some of the earliest known arthropods, which is a family that still includes like bugs, lobsters, and spiders, and are some of the like most successful early life on the planet, and easily also some of the most famous non-dinosaur ancient animals, because like everyone on Earth has heard the word trilobite.
Is it those things like in the deep ocean that are like they look like old bugs and they got like tons of legs and like a back.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the video that the people who brought one to a Wendy's?
Okay, so trilobites are dead, but there is an animal currently called the great isopod or something like
isopod.
that, which is just like it is basically the same animal just for modern times. It's just a giant, horrible, damp bug.
Yeah,
like it's awful.
It's
1,000 moving organic parts, and it looks upset all the time. Like
it's scary.
They're the worst.
I saw one recently that was completely clear. Like so you could see through all it. Like if you're underwater, you wouldn't see it, but when it's out of the water, you can see that it's just like.
Well, there's no need to have color in the deep ocean, so animals are either transparent or on the red spectrum, because red light can't penetrate that much water. So a lot of those animals, when you pull them up to the light, are bright red or completely translucent, because in a world with no light, there is no purpose in having color.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Like it's no evolutionary advantage.
Unless you got a little light in front of you before you take a little snack like those.
Well, there actually is an evolutionary advantage for being dark red or translucent, because you are invisible.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Right. I mean,
that's why
no matter what. But
yeah. Why am I not see-through? I bet I could have got away from a lot more tigers back in the day if I was see-through.
Jamie's just a skeleton with like his red beard. So trilobites are some of the most successful animals that have ever existed. They were everywhere for almost 500 million years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, exactly. They existed for a huge amount of time. Their fossils have been found in the western U.S., in Morocco, and in Siberia. And they scuttled around the seabed eating filthy garbage for millions and millions of years, basically. Wow. They are just janitors. They are just little beetles, and they clean things up. Now, of course, I do want to clarify that, like, because the continents move, our idea of, like, wow, Siberia, the western U.S., and Morocco are so far apart. They were in completely different locations at that time, you know, in the 400 million years ago. So that's, like, not truly as impressive, but they are, like, very, very common. I might still have, like, a fossil trilobite somewhere in my house. I have no idea, though. Like, somebody bought me at a museum. Everywhere. Very successful. Very good, like, body plan. Like a very successful animal. Cool. Kabuto evolves into Kabutops at level... Yes. Yeah. Kabutops at level 40.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
You should test this on this guy. I want to see if I still have my blue memory yet.
I will. Yeah. So yeah, it's at level 40. Sorry. So like the next one, I'll give you the shot.
Thank you.
Kabutops is also based on a trilobite, and also perhaps combined with a different kind of awful sea bug that are called Eurypterids. These things we definitely know as sea scorpions. You've probably heard that term before.
I haven't.
I mean, I've heard the term sea and I've heard the term scorpion, so I can't tell if I'm just mixing them up in my head or not.
Okay, yeah.
Right. I thought that was like a badass gang who took like ships around and plundered people. The sea scorpions. You gotta watch.
Almost certainly. Yeah.
That sounds like a BattleTech clan. Let's be real.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does.
I will say I googled sea scorpion to get an image of what they look like, and the Wikipedia page for Eurypterid was already purple for me. So clearly, at some point in this show, we've talked about it, and I've clicked this link. Wow. Basically,
wow.
Yeah. Unless you were just privately curious about the Eurypterids, it doesn't have to be like catalyzed entirely about like some dumb shit I want to talk about.
No, right? But okay, the only way I would have Googled it on my PC was if we were doing this show. If I was personally curious, I would have looked it up on my phone.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sure. I feel like you and your wife get into like, no, we got to look this up. Like
for sure, everything. But like I say, it's almost always on my phone. I mean, unless we're sitting here and just talking, but like we're either gaming. Like I'm gaming with you guys and she's hanging out.
Yeah.
Or like I'm not at my PC. Like, you know, like or we're doing this show.
Right.
Yeah. Eurypterids or sea scorpions are slightly more complex, like ancient arthropods. They are still related to trilobites. They just have a lot more like horrible moving parts. They have like kind of spikes and fangs and a lot of paddles and a lot of strange bits on
corkscrew, them. They're also army knife.
Yeah, exactly. They got a nail file, corkscrew. It's disgusting.
The flashlight, if you twist up one of the legs real good.
Yeah, exactly. The manual flashlight is also on the sea scorpion. They're pretty horrible looking. They're also fucking huge. Even a small one is like 1.5 meters long. So, very gross.
I'm like 1.5 meters long. I feel like. How tall? How long? How many feet is 1.5 meters?
A meter is like 3 feet 3 inches or something like that.
Okay. Oh gosh, they're like human size. That's awful.
They're big uns. Yeah,
that's awful.
Yeah, these are all sea animals too. So like the concentration of oxygen in water can support non-complex, like complex, simple animals, right? Like that's why bugs are small, is because they suck at breathing is the main problem, and the oxygen content in our current atmosphere is too low for them to like be any bigger than whatever the fuck the largest bug on Earth currently is, sort of thing.
Yeah,
they don't have lungs.
No.
I was watching something today on really old fish, and there was this one fish that had no teeth, but it had like really sharp bones that were like part of its skeleton in the front. And
so we will talk about Dunkleosteus later on.
I watched it today. Hell yeah. Okay, good.
That thing does not fuck around. But yes, that animal, just like as a hint, predates the evolution of teeth and does just have like exposed parts of its skull that fit together like shears.
And it was okay. I'll talk more about it later. That's so cool that I watched that today, man. That is so cool.
It's also big and scary.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Your boy's a big fan of that fish. The Helix fossil, Lord Helix himself, can be resurrected into Ammonite, which is based on the ancient Ammonite. They just basically spelled it wrong. Ammonites are squid living inside coiled shells, the little spiral or the helix. Yeah, and these animals, Amistar as well, is just a more dangerous looking Ammonite, basically, because like most Pokemon evolutions go from the real animal to the cool animal, but like kind of the same thing, and that is the difference between Ammonite and Amistar. Is they are just what if anime artist drew an Ammonite
with sharper
and
teeth.
then what if a anime artist drew a cooler Ammonite?
Yeah. I mean, Squirtle goes from turtle to turtle with wings on his head to turtle with guns on his back.
Exactly.
So just getting cooler and cooler all the way.
Yeah.
is I guess a salamander to a lizard to a dragon. Natural progression.
Yeah. Or like
Bulbasaur is plant.
Well, it's really like onion flower tree.
Sure. I mean, Venusaur is a big flower. It's not
mounted on a toad.
Yeah, flower on a toad. Flower on a toad's back.
You heard
Turtle power.
Ammonites existed in some way or another for what is a borderline incomprehensible amount of time, kind of like trilobites. They're found literally everywhere on the planet.
Power. Shit. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Just cut that back into the old.
Yeah.
Cut that into the track. Ammonites were present in Earth's oceans for roughly 335 million years.
Okay, not bad.
They existed before life on land, and went out in a blaze of fucking glory with the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
What are we at? Like people?
Well, yeah. Okay, so like the earliest proto-humans, like Pete said, was about 200,000 years ago.
Oh,
but like,
well, that's the same species human. Like, if you want to talk proto-human, like you're talking like between 4 and 3 million years, like something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And then if you're talking like modern man, it's like 10,000-ish years. Which is like the invention of farming, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. We're young, dude. Can you believe that in 10,000 years, we did what the Ammonites never could?
Yeah.
Create the internet, Twitter, and destroy the planet.
Yeah.
They're so dumb.
Trying. Yeah. The Ammonites, but
dumb and translucent idiots.
So like a lot of marine animals, Ammonites fossilize very well, sometimes in remarkable ways. So you can get like a coiled shell that has like a geode that is formed inside of it. I have the cross section of an Ammonite shell on my TV stand here, it's just rock, but it's very like polished and clean, because whenever it had died, like the minerals that ended up inside the shell were very pretty. Basically, mine looks like kind of like tortoiseshell Ray-Bans. Is the color of the one that I have.
Cool. I did look up trilobite fossils for sale, and you can get one for like $6.
Wow.
Ammonite fossils seem to be much more expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
in the thousands of dollar range for these.
Well, like for a big one, mine is this big. Like,
what about
like 2.5 inches?
A full body dinosaur. How much would that be?
I think Nicolas Cage has bought fossils,
so
one of you can pull up that clip and get the receipt.
I think it's price per sale also. I think it's like on offer only. I don't think there's like a list price for full skeletons.
I remember seeing one in Ottawa and then finding out it was just like a replica and that the real one was in the back, and I felt ripped off. But today I can understand why you wouldn't just keep a full-on dinosaur thing outside. But
there's no MSRP on dinosaur bones, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Googled how much did Nick Cage pay for T-Rex? And Google was like, how much did you mean how much did Nicolas Cage pay for T-Rex?
Okay, Google.
Yeah, like, thanks.
Oh, keep it professional, Ethan.
Yeah.
And $150 million on a skull and two dinosaur skull, pygmy heads, and 2 European castles.
Dang.
So I guess it was
Heads?
one sale where he spent $150 million, but between 2 castles, pygmy heads, and a dinosaur skull.
You know what? I want the skull,
make
but
it.
throw in the pygmy heads. Throw in the pygmy
Yeah,
heads. It's
yeah,
150. You know, like,
That's like honestly, that doesn't sound like that much for primarily the 2 castles. It feels it feels like the skull and the I guess like shrunken heads.
yeah.
Castles are relatively cheap depending on where you get them,
The upkeep.
because the upkeep is killer. So like they just like lose value unless you're just pouring money into them essentially. And there's a lot in Europe, honestly. Like there's more than you might think, I guess. If you have Nick Cage kind of money to throw around.
Okay.
Sorry, Nicolas Cage kind of money.
If we can get 10,000 patrons, we will get a Lore Boys castle, and you can all come live with us.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, in the surrounding area as well. We will finally have legit lore folk.
Yeah. We will commit you to serfdom to
Yeah.
live in our castle. Yeah.
10 to the fields, pay us $15 a month, and you can live with us. Yeah.
Yeah, just haul corn up to the castle, whatever, man.
It's all a tithe.
Ethan gets to have sex with your wife before you marry her or whatever.
Yeah. Prima nocta, of course.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, whoa.
Divine
Regarding the sorry,
Divine right, baby. Can't argue with that.
Lord Boys appointed by God.
Yeah.
Currently, similar animals still exist to Ammonites. There's an animal called the Nautiloid, which is a modern squid with house. It is just a squid with a shell. They're cute and they're like white and orange. That's about it. They got big eyes.
Cool.
As we covered earlier, there's very little to say about Amostar. The evolution of Ammonite, it's just the same animal, but the sexed up for teenage boys in 1996, basically.
Level 40 as well?
So that is level 40, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Fun fact about Nautiloids. They are the ships that Illithid or Mind Flayers fly around space in the Dungeons and Dragons universe are called Nautiloids, and they're shaped like Nautiloid creatures, like the squids
animal.
with the shells.
Oh, that's cool.
Listen to our... speaking of ancient history, listen to our fucking Illithid episode. Back in the day.
One of the few ways to get to light speed is tentacles doing like that movement that squids do, I guess. Yeah.
So, not to actually too hard, but it is much cooler. They have like some sort of water intake, and below their tentacles, squids and nautiluses and octopi or octopodes have like a jet that they shoot water out of.
Out their beak or next to their beak?
It's below their beak.
Oh.
So the beak is within
more
the
than one
tentacle.
hole down there. This is just like this other thing I learned the other day.
Yeah, no, it's like dude, girls and squid, they pee out their butts. Like the next fossil in Gen 1 was Aerodactyl. He's unique in Gen 1 because it's not a choice. Everybody gets their like Jurassic Park branded old amber to clone the Aerodactyl, who is a flying reptile.
That was also the last wife that Ethan had pre-Mocto with. His old amber.
Old amber, yeah. We've only got the one serf. There's old Jeffrey. Okay, and you married Amber.
Old amber.
I'm not gonna refuse my right to it just because she's 85, has no teeth. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you can get yourself a gummer and then just head back to the castle, dude. Whatever that's called. Official
not everybody got Aerodactyl because some of us were too stupid to go back to the museum and talk to the scientists and get the amber and never knew how to get Aerodactyl when they were kids. Okay, Peter?
Right.
I withdraw my statement.
Pewter Town.
Cinnabar Island. Isn't it the same place?
No, the museum's in
Pewter Town is where you get the old amber.
Oh yeah,
right?
that's where you take the old amber out of the museum, of course. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Ethan. I withdraw my statement. Not everybody gets an Aerodactyl.
Everybody gets the opportunity.
Yes, exactly. It's I'm politically, honestly, I'm voting for like equal Aerodactyl opportunity, not equal opportunity of Aerodactyl outcome. Okay.
Yeah. Let sleeping Aerodactyls lie. That's what I say. Okay.
Official Pokemon art, which I did post in the boys, shows that Aerodactyl is based on a Pteranodon, which doesn't really kind of hold water as far as the character design goes. Aerodactyl has a tail and also teeth, which actually just makes it closer to a pterodactyl, which it is named after, at least in English. That being said, both Pteranodon and Pterodactyl are pterosaurs, which we talk about in our Jurassic Park episode where they commit war crimes. They are flying reptiles, which are not dinosaurs. They exist at the same time, but they serve a different niche, and they are not. Dinosaurs are not archosaurs either, as far as I know.
This is the first picture we're looking at?
Yeah,
Okay.
the non-spoiler one. You can see Aerodactyl up top, and they're paralleled, basically, between the animals they're based off.
I had to scroll past all the Kid Rocks from the bonus content. There's way too
Oh,
many.
hell yeah.
There are a lot of pictures of Kid Rock in the boys chat right now.
I wish he did. He shouldn't be wearing such a tall trilby. He wouldn't be such like a carnival attraction. So despite being taller than me at 5'11", Aerodactyl is still kind of a bitch motherfucker compared to a species of pterosaur called Asdarchids, who were a real class of animals that include animals like Asdarco and Quetzalcoatlus, which you may have heard of. They're flying predatory animals the size of giraffes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Very, very big. We will get into some more information about more boring dead animals after the break. Welcome back, everybody. So Generation 2 of Pokemon blew up the lab leak theory, basically, on like where dinosaurs came from. So now we need to skip the entire generation and move on to Gen 3, which is Pokemon's Ruby and Sapphire. In Gen 3, we get a choice between the Claw and the Root fossils. The Claw fossil can be resurrected by the Devon Corporation, or Devon, into a Norith. So this is the new guys doing the sci-fi shit to make your ancient animals. Basically, they're doing your Jurassic Park work for you since Cinnabar Island, exploded.
And Anorith kind of looks like the isopod we said that Jamie was taken into a Wendy's or something.
Yeah, exactly. The one that he had on a leash.
Yeah.
Design-wise, Anorith is actually kind of interesting among Pokemon because it is just an unmodified drawing of a real animal.
Yeah.
If you guys look at the reference image you have, the Anorith and the Anomalocaris look exactly the same.
Those are the first.
I mean, Ammonite too, though.
A lot of them do. Like, he just seems less stylized. Anomalocaris is either Old Italian or Greek for not like other shrimp, is what that translates to. Or like unlike other shrimp.
Grandma's shrimp. Yeah, they say your grandma's Kid Rock shrimp.
I think I'm looking at the wrong. I think I'm looking at the wrong picture. Where's the Anomalocaris?
It's the same picture. The first picture Pete said is all the fossil Pokemon on the left versus their real life counterparts on.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that part.
Yeah, it's a graph. So
cool.
X is Pokemon to real animal, basically.
Okay.
And archaeologist Pikachu is the center of the Venn diagram, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Or like the vertice, basically. In the plane, in your Cartesian plane, he's the middle where everything intersects.
Because Indiana Pikachu is real. Yes.
Yeah. So visually, Anorith looks very much just like a flat shrimp, which is what Anomalocaris was. It's got a bunch of kind of feathery wings coming out of the sides, and their bodies are kind of segmented. And in front, they have two big kind of curling, kind of like scoop claws that poke out from underneath their eyes that lead into like an awful circular mouth, basically.
Was Anomalocaris also made out of iron tempered with carbon, or is that unique to the Pokemon?
I think that's probably unique to the Pokemon.
Yo,
Okay.
you guys see that magma slug that's also a Pokemon that actually has like skin made from iron that lives like around lava in real life? It's like a red slug.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
Slugma.
Magcargo, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah, Slugma Rhydon.
I love Magcargo, but I love Magcargo, but Magcargo is competitively terrible.
Yeah, I know. There's so many so many of the cool Pokemon get shafted by their BS.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, well, it's just like, oh, here's an interesting design and here's an interesting typing, but oops, this generation came out with another ground dragon, which is fucking unstoppable. You're like, okay, Garchomp it is then.
That red slug in real life is cool as hell, even if its Pokemon counterpart just sucks. But Like, who's made of iron? We got some iron in us, but not very much. Not enough to be
in your blood.
Not next to magma. Yeah.
Got iron in your blood. There's like an entire plot point in like X2, X-Men Reunited or some shit, whatever that movie's called, where
Magneto can move you because there's
yeah. No, yeah, the horny security guard gets injected with too much iron, and then Magneto can like pulls it out of his blood and turns it into like bullets, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I didn't think
Which
I'd
is cool.
seen an X-Men movie, but I've definitely seen that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen an X-Men movie since that one, but like that's what I remember from that film.
Yeah.
Logan was good. All the rest were bad.
Oh, Logan is good. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, when, Jamie, do you think a Norith evolves into Armaldo?
450 million years ago.
Very close.
At level 450 million.
Very, very close, actually. The Anomalocaris went extinct 499 million years ago, so good guess.
Okay, and level...
So close to half a bill.
Seems like
it feels like they just cheated him of half a billion years ago. You know what I mean?
I know.
489 million? Just call it 500 million.
Yeah.
Scientists, what are you doing? What are you doing to our poor boy?
It seems like so far the fossils evolve late. Like 36 feels like a normal, like that's where you're gonna evolve the last time, but
well, that's where most starters, except for some reason there's always one that is at 32 evolved. So like 40 is like a good that's a good age to leave the home, basically.
I'll say 42. This one gets a little older.
Ethan, you want to I don't know if you're looking at Bulbapedia or if you want to take a stab at it.
No, I used Pokemon DB because somebody once told me that Bulbapedia was founded by turfs. So I was like, okay, Pokemon DB works for me. I don't know if that's true. I'm just like throwing shade for nothing out here, but heard it once and I said, that's all the convincing I need.
He's like, I don't really care where I get my Pokemon information. So I mean, like, I'll just like, I don't know, like play it safe. Who cares?
I don't care what you say on Twitter. Whenever I bring you to the nursery, you got to be a certain gender to breed. It's like, shut the fuck up, Bulbapedia. What the fuck? Yeah.
Of all the strongholds.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but I know for a fact that Anorith evolves at level 69. So, next question, please.
Both wrong. Jamie, closest without going over. Anorith evolves into Armaldo and Armaldo also just does sound like a hot Spanish guy at level 40.
Level 40. Okay.
Armaldo.
Yeah.
Armaldo.
Yeah.
Very little to say about Armaldo, much like Amistar. He is just a cooler looking, like more aggro version of the real animal. That's it. They're also rock bug. They're very good. It's a fairly decent typing.
Rock bug by the B-52s.
Yeah. The head to the tails on Gen 3's like whatever the choice between you get through the fossils coin is the root fossil, which can be resurrected into Lilip, and its evolution Cradily, which again, guess when does it evolve?
40.
40. It's 40.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just
this is 40. Yeah.
Good one.
They evolve into getting a divorce and taking up drinking. And...
Yeah. Yes. Getting a Dodge Challenger and spoiling your kids on the weekends so their bitch mom have to deal with them when they get back.
Yeah.
Lilip and Cradily are both very, very good Pokemon, which my idiot 12-year-old brain did not realize because there was Bug with Knife Hands versus Plant. And the Plant one is defensively like a very good like defensive lead competitively and like very good typing. Cradily is in a higher tier basically competitively than Armaldo is as far as I know, because it is just borderline in some cases unkillable if you kind of like built it correctly.
I don't know what Armaldo looks like. I'm picturing Hey Arnold. I'm picturing a football head Plant. But
yeah, you're close actually. It's just imagine the animal that I talked about earlier, like it's Anomalocaris but standing up.
Okay.
That's it. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
So Cradily and Leap are unique as they're fossil Pokemon that are based on animals that are like not extinct at all.
Oh.
Like not even in like the Ammonite Nautilus way. Lilip and Cradily are based on animals called sea lilies, which still exist and did not die out. They are 500 million years old and are in the fossil record, but they're just like still around.
Wow.
Yeah. They're very much like a passive predator. They have like kind of these like leafy fronds that poke out of their bodies that they use to catch small animals and like particles. They're very much like passive. They look
like coral. You know,
yeah,
like
it's like food drifts through the web and they consume it and bring it into the body. Lily and Cradley are really closer to something like a Venus flytrap opposed to an actual sea lily, which is weird because they're resurrected from a root fossil and an animal does not have roots, and they're also grass rock, so they're very much like based on plant life, and their visual design is they just look like a flower with tentacles.
I had a Venus flytrap as a kid. I like begged
my dad used to have a
it
dad was
cool.
Always yeah.
They're not.
It's a great pet.
They're not smart though, because like I was a kid and I was like, I want to see it eat a fly. I want to see it snap its thing. So I like hit it with a pencil eraser to see if it would like snap at it, and then it closed its mouth but didn't open its mouth like fast enough to be able to eat its next meal, and it just kind of died because I made it.
Yeah.
I fed my Venus flytrap a rubber eraser and it died.
Well, like, I wanted to see it snap. Like for some reason in my head, I'm picturing like a Pokemon. It'll just open its mouth again if it didn't get a meal, right?
Yeah.
But it just stayed shut, like thinking it's digesting something, and then slowly open. And by the time it opened, it didn't get another meal.
I'm not gonna lie, you are giving that plant a lot of credit. It wasn't thinking anything. Like my dad used to have one. Like he made a little. You need to keep them damp too. Yeah. So he had made like a little terrarium out of like a big water jug that you would like, like a water cooler jug basically.
Yeah.
So if you cut off the top, you can like make a little terrarium on the inside to keep it swampy, which is what they need. But yeah, like at his office, he named him Trapper, and would feed him like one little like nug of hamburger meat on the end of a toothpick. was how he fed it.
All right, that's an American flat trap. I only eat AAA grade beef. You know?
Yeah, it's an Angus fly trap, not a Venus fly trap.
I like my beef plant fed and my plants beef fed.
Yeah, exactly. The cycle's complete. And again, someone had told me recently, it was just like, man, Pete, you've got a story for everything, but it's always about your dad. It's like, yeah, and my dad's the Venus flytrap guy too. Like, he's just a weird man. Right. So anyway, moving past that, we are almost done here. We're almost in the fun Victorian science. In Generation 4, so after Lily and Cradley in Gen 3, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum are the first time dinosaurs are represented in the fossil Pokemon record, basically. Everything prior to this has been some much older or stranger animal, or in the case of like Lily and Cradley, like I said, just like an angry plant, basically.
Yeah. And I know you said pterosaurs aren't dinosaurs, but like I'm gonna give that one I think Aerodactyl kind of represents dinosaurs a little bit, at least.
You'd be wrong, but yeah, sure.
I mean, a little bit at least.
It's as close as we had.
Nobody thinks pterodactyl like I'm actually not a dinosaur, but a pterosaur. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think there was a pterodactyl in We're Back, and that was a dinosaur movie, right?
Yeah. I think there was one in Dinosaurs too, no?
Yeah, and Land Before Time.
Petrie,
yeah.
Yeah.
I say it every time we talk about it. It's the one
You're
time.
wrong.
No, Spike says Ducky, not Petrie.
Oh, you're right. Ducky. The one time he speaks, whenever Ducky.
Jesus
goes
Christ!
around.
I can't believe on this show is we're just like have to correct each other, misquoting the Land Before Time.
Oh, that's
7.
right. I guess the flying dinosaur wouldn't be a problem when he fell off the cliff, right?
No, yeah,
it's
like, Ducky gets knocked off of something, and her adopted stepbrother Spike, the disabled Stegosaurus, is the first time he talks.
Yeah, he's mute. He's mute. Yeah.
He's kind of like the crew dog, though.
He's awesome.
Which is weird when you think about the fact they're all kind of like young animals, and they have a dog, but he's just like a different young animal.
He's not a dog. He's just a cool bro that just doesn't say anything. He hangs out. He's like, whatever, I'm Spike, dude.
It's very Goofy and Mickey's dog Pluto vibes, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's I was gonna say it's weirder. That's much, much weirder because like Goofy has a job and drives a car, and he keeps like a different guy in a cage.
Goofy is no, so Goofy doesn't. Mickey has a dog, but Goofy and Mickey are best friends, right?
Yeah.
So it's like imagine you just went to your best friend's place and you had like, and like the design of Pluto and Goofy is like super similar too. Like
the same,
them look different, right? So it's just like just has like a person.
Last time I went to Ethan's place,
I guess.
Last time I went to Ethan's place, he had like a 30-year-old Scottish person living in a little house behind him. Yeah, looked just like me, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Oh
Angus,
no! Don't
Angus
open
was
the sliding
nice.
door.
Yeah. Angus was nice. I mean, he got a little angry when I invoked Prima Nocta, but whatever.
That's what you can look forward to on the Lore Boys plot of like in our fiefdom that we buy in England or whatever. So in Gen 4, the fossils that you can bring back to life are the armor and skull fossils, and they're resurrected in the Orberg Mining Museum. This is where things kind of get like less interesting. So like I do apologize in advance if some of these are your favorite Pokemon. They're not that cool, frankly. Like historically, I guess.
Objectively speaking.
Yeah, I mean it's like we all know a ton of shit about dinosaurs because they're very common and die on continents with like civilization basically. So it's like
dinosaurs. I only know about pterosaurs, Peter. Okay.
Okay. Well, okay. I don't want to have this fucking fight again.
Oh man, I hate when mom and dad fight.
Jamie, go to your room.
You've got Angus chained up outside, just barking at the sliding door. Just
it's not my room; it's my Terra room.
The Arbor Fossil is brought back as a Pokemon called Shieldon, who evolves into Bastiodon. Guys?
At level 40.
Level 40, it's got to be, right?
30 this time. They mixed it up.
Oh.
Sure. Yeah, sorry. Yep. Cucked again, Jamie. Sorry.
Stop cucking our son, Peter.
Which one's mom, which one's dad? I guess that doesn't matter. I'm not a Bulbapedia. You guys can both be my dad.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? Ethan and I like just cooperate is basically it.
If we were a McCarthy 1950s family, I have to believe that I would be mom and Peter would be dad.
You've told me like when we were younger, you told me. Ethan always told me he wants to be a stay-at-home dad when he was younger.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could tell a lot about how I would turn out from young Ethan because there was two answers to the what do you want to be when you grow up, and it was stay-at-home dad or lottery winner. Or like my two go-tos. So clearly he wanted to be a lazy sack of shit, which some things turned out to be true.
I wanted to be a robotics engineer, but then I realized I'm not that good at math. Shot too high on that one.
I wanted to do paleontology, but then I just had to like get into just like, oh yeah, well I'm actually just going to trick you into listening about it anyway because you're interested in Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. Paleontology.
Just on the subject quickly of the nuclear family, I thought I would be Jamie's mom because I'm shorter than you, but you are blonde, kind of making you. We're both like 50-50's wife material, basically.
Yeah, I'm blonde and more hairless.
Yeah, I don't know about like, the tallness thing though, because I would love to have a wife that's like significantly taller than me. I think that'd be fun.
We know
she could shop.
But that's not the nuclear family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In our modern family where Pete and I are both dads, like, yeah, I could be the taller, hot mom dad, but...
True. I see it. Yeah.
But 1960s CIA would have assassinated me, Like,
of course.
For being taller than Peter.
Hello, Mr. Nixon. I need to have my wife killed. She's 4 inches taller than I am.
Oh, well, we'll see what we can do about it. I'm kind of up to my neck and stuff right now, but we'll make time.
A little bit busy with that whole hotel debacle, but I'll get back to you.
I just realized we're doing a paleontology episode. What the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah, whatever. I told you guys to stay on track, and you didn't listen. So the armor fossil from Gen 4 Pokemon can be resurrected into Shieldon, which evolves into Bastiodon at level 30. these two Pokemon look very similar to a Triceratops. It's like kind of like a very stocky little body, stumpy little legs, short tail, and obviously big fuck off bone shield protecting its neck.
Yeah. No
like
horns.
a Sarah. Yeah.
Like Sarah from Land Before Time, exactly.
Yes.
That being said, Bastiodon and Shieldon do not have horns, making them much more similar to an Asian version of Triceratops called Protoceratops, which is a smaller animal with no horns. And if you Google fighting dinosaur fossil, you can find what is arguably the most famous fossil on the planet, where a Protoceratops and a Velociraptor were both killed at the same time while trying to kill each other, and both the animals are remarkably well preserved.
That's cool. Either can you pop it in the chat? My keyboard's on.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Do you think, I mean, I don't know if I would guess that it was while they were trying to kill each other, but it feels more to me like, so like the Triceratops has the Velociraptor or the raptor gored here. It feels to me like, oh, probably gored him, then could never get its horn undone, like could get its horn out of the raptor's body. And so it was just like kind of died, like stuck like that. Sorry, Jamie, I'm trying to share, but my files are too powerful.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll take the description.
If you just like open your browser, I guess you don't have your fucking keyboard plugged in.
I can do it. It's just making noise, so whatever.
Yeah. The fighting dinosaur fossil, like you've seen it. It's the raptor and the other animal trying to kill each other. Or like there are a bunch of theories because like it was discovered in 1971 in Mongolia, and it's obviously completely impossible to figure out how these fucking things died, right? Why do they look like they are locked in combat? And like why, like they're small animals too. Like we know the Velociraptor is like the size of a turkey, and the Protoceratops is barely. It's like a heavier animal, but like and they're just like stuck together.
This feels a lot like the two men skeletons that were found caressing each other, and the scientists were like, "Oh, they must have been like hiding for warmth or something when they were just a gay couple." This is just a proto. This is a proto and a Velociraptor who just love each other, and
I'd like to reiterate. Yeah, I guess it's like exactly like I'd like to reiterate. Get fucked, Bulbapedia.
Blushing emoji. Like what would happen if you impaled me in the tar pits?
What if we kissed while you gored me under a sand dune? I love this fossil because the raptor in particular is almost completely preserved. Like it's just an entire skeleton.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That had been found. The Protoceratops is a little bit kind of busted up because it was like standing when it died or something. But yeah, like very much like flash frozen. Like it is 1 second from 80 million years ago that we somehow like by God's grace still get to like observe and like just like this thing that we get to watch.
Yeah, it's super cool. The Proto's face kind of looks like it's made out of bat wings, but other than that, you can kind of see what's going on.
It's a less kind of like comprehensible animal when it doesn't have skin on it. There's a bunch of like bits basically, but a bunch of hoops of bone that like it's just like like what's going on here.
Coming next, the Lore Boys branded cereal, Dino Bits. It is
hoops of bone.
Yeah, 2 scoops of bone in every bowl.
The skull fossil gives you a Kranidos. So there's the Shieldon, which has a very cool story. Kranidos, which evolves into Rampardos, again at level 30. The fossil Pokemon are always kind of like parallel with each other. These aren't very interesting animals. Rampardos, like trivia-wise within Pokemon, has the highest attack stat of any rock Pokemon in the entire game.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
That's it.
Eat shit, Onyx.
Yeah, Onyx is a defensive Pokemon.
Yeah, get fucked, my Geodude.
Yeah.
Right on these nuts.
Yeah.
This kind of period of Pokemon after they introduced dinosaurs is kind of boring. So like the animal design or like the choice of animal that they decide to turn into a fossil Pokemon is pretty bland. So we are just gonna kind of blast past it here. Like, so again, I'm sorry if this is one of your favorites. Carracosta is based on the Archelon, but that's just like a big fucking sea turtle, and that's in Gen 5. Tyrantrum is finally the T-Rex we've been waiting for all these years. Was introduced in Generation 6 along with Aurorus, which is based on the South American long neck called Amargasaurus, which was just like a long neck dinosaur, but on each side of its neck had like a gigantic V-shaped sail, basically.
Okay. Found on the Falkland Islands, a Amargasaurus, you said, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Gen 5 did, however, introduce Archon and Archaeops, which are based on Archaeopteryx, which was discovered in Germany in the 1800s. And like the fighting dinosaurs, Archaeopteryx is easily one of the most famous fossils on the planet. If you Google it, you'll see it's like the flattened bird that is the entire skeleton with feather impressions preserved within like just like a slab of like limestone or something like that.
The only flattened birds I know are Portuguese chickens, because every time I buy one to eat, they're all completely flat.
They do lay them out. They do lay them out.
Yeah. Is
that how so this, I'm looking at this now, Archaeopteryx, and this is basically like at the beginning of the movie Jurassic Park. Like, clearly the Velociraptor fossil that they find was inspired by this picture.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. It's a 200-year-old discovery from like southern Germany, and again, it's just like so lucky that we have this thing where an animal that has been dead for 180 million years is preserved in like is perfect. Basically, every detail of it is there.
Really makes you think like which ones didn't we get to see? You know, like
That's always been my problem, because like growing up in Quebec and loving paleontology, Quebec, the geology in Quebec does not allow for good fossilization. So like we don't know.
Yeah.
And you never will.
And like there's such like a disproportionate number of like vertebrates, right? Where like invertebrates with no bones are so much less likely to preserve because they need to have like the perfect like ecological conditions for like jelly to fucking fossilize, you know? Which just basically never happens. So
yeah,
I remember
there's like a bunch of big gaps.
In Ontario, I cracked open a rock and there was a little swirly in it one time, but it could have been a worm from like 10,000 years ago, not like an actual real thing. You know?
I mean, the Ottawa Valley was underwater for hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of years. So
there was an inland sea through most of North America, basically. And like this Archaeopteryx probably preserved so well in Germany because Europe was an archipelago for hundreds of millions of years. Like a big fucking chunks of it were underwater, and it was just like a bunch of scattered islands. Which is why, and China has good rocks, and like the Western U.S. has good rocks.
China's got good rocks.
That sounded like a politician phrase. China's got good rocks. They got the best rocks.
Hey, China's got good rocks. They got excellent rocks. I think the Western U.S. has good rocks too. Like we don't really get to decide. Like a lot of paleontology is kind of based around like human civilization, but it is coincidence more than anything. Like, you could not have known that like the most powerful country on the planet would be the US on top of like just good conditions from 190 million years ago, right?
So there is such an interesting like correlation graph which shows like the southern US and its voting demographics. So like where people vote liberal and where people vote conservative, and it directly overlays with like fertile bed sediments from like you say, like 190 million years ago. And it's because when slaves were brought to America, the best farms were on those fertile crescents, and when the slaves were freed, black people kind of settled in those same areas, and black people tend to vote liberal instead of conservative in the States, right? So they vote Democrat, they don't vote Republican. So like the voting population was like directly decided by where a lot of plants died 200 million years ago and made for fertile soil.
Unrelated, but in Europe, the closer you are to Chernobyl, the more you like hentai as your favorite porn category. So
you've been poisoned.
There's a lot of cool like.
There's a lot of neat correlations that I made like doing the research for this episode, because I've listened to the audiobook for Guns, Germs, and Steel, which is like a very like cold book. Like I remember talking to a buddy of mine. I may have mentioned this on the show. Like I talked to a buddy who had read it. He was like, I don't know. Like it kind of bugged me. I'm just like, it. You have to detach. It's not about people. It's about humans, right? Like it's like a biological text about the human animal. But like a lot of where you have like science and for some reason, good geology and shit like that, like empire geology and all this stuff is all very much correlated within certain areas.
Yeah.
Which I find very bizarre. And perhaps there is no plan and there is no God, and many things are totally out of our control, and good dirt made all of our decisions for us more than anything.
Right.
That being said, good dirt in Pokemon also makes their decisions, so we can wrap this one up. Right, so hang on, where was I here? Oh, right, the another fun trivia about, like, Archaeopteryx was the fact it was found a couple of years after Charles Darwin published the Origin of the Species. So he was just like, evolution, and you had some dinosaurs and some modern animals, and then someone found what is known as a transitional species, which is like a halfway thing between like when dinosaurs got feathers, and they were just like, fuck. All right.
Bumblepedia hates those, by the way.
Yeah, Bumblepedia hates them, yeah. I had to go to
transitional fossils.
I had to go to a different website to get the information about Arkin. So to cap off here, I want to talk about like England specifically, because of course we're talking about empire and science and whatnot, and England is not only loaded with fossils, but also like pretty much like the kind of the source of a lot of the science that we currently work with. England in the Victorian era got very interested in science and like luckily had animals preserved below them. Like it's again like coincidence or whatever. This means that the stuffy Victorian men of science were very interested in paleontology. A couple of famous people from this time were Richard Owen, or Sir Richard Owen, who, if you Google him, he looks like an old light bulb, really. Like,
what, sir?
Look, when you see his picture, you'll know. He was descended from he was descended from like a French Protestant woman and an Indian commerce mogul, basically, and was born in England. But yeah, he looks like an aged light bulb. And then you may also know Mary Anning. Anning was notable for discovering multiple incredible fossils of marine reptiles in Dorset. So like plesiosaurs, like the Loch Ness Monster sort of stuff, or ichthyosaurs, which are a different sort of animal. Again, like not dinosaurs to actually it, I guess. She was also notable for being a woman participating in Victorian era science when like in 2022 that still seems like it's hard. Can you fucking imagine? Sadly, she died very young at the age of 47 though, but she discovered and described, which is when you like I guess publish an animal, plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, and some other species of aquatic animal. Like she had a very good read on these things. Yeah, exactly.
I like that publishing an animal like a baby chick just like in a book closed. Yeah. You peel it open, published. Yeah, there we go.
I would like to submit this skeleton I found in my backyard as an NFT. Thank you.
Yeah, she minted on the she minted on the blockchain. Died too young, you know.
Minted plesiosaurus on the blockchain.
The 47 club, dude. Sir Richard Owen, this is one of my favorite things that I came across. Sir Richard Owen was a critic of Charles Darwin. Okay? Not because he thought evolution didn't happen, but because he thought Charles Darwin made evolution sound too simple.
Okay.
So he was like, this old light bulb is very much like the hardcore nerd to like Charles Darwin's casual nerd, basically. He's I got an Xbox, I play Halo, and then you've got like the anime guy just like chirping at him the whole time.
Richard Owen is like really getting hung up on like how pterosaurs aren't dinosaurs, right?
Exactly.
Like as someone who studied psychology and evolutionary psychology or whatever, is like no matter what, you can always be right. Like, there's no way that evolutionary, like, because, well, we became this way because we evolved to be this way. Like, men tend to do this more, women tend because evolution. And you can never be wrong with like, Darwin's theory, right? Because
convenient.
So I can kind of see where it's saying, like, too simple, like, it's an easy way out for a lot of explanations because in some ways it is, but also it probably described the way that we ended up today.
I'd like to argue that wow ain't no easy way out.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a product of like media that we see in this day and age, but it feels so easy to think of like evolution as like a Pokemon evolution, where it's like really deliberate and like, oh, it's because people like to think of it as like Darwin's finches, where some finches developed the ability to like poke their beaks between rocks, and some developed the ability to like crack nuts or whatever. It's really easy to think of it as like, oh, there was a finch who saw a nut and said like, I gotta figure out a way to crack that. But it's
so we fought Rattatas for 10 hours until he
So it is funny. Like I want you to finish this because this is like very, very relevant. I didn't even put it into this episode, but that was Owen's argument, in the fact that Darwin's theory of evolution was very much thinking like kind of the process of like animals that like were developing solutions to problems, opposed to something
just untold billions that died because they couldn't crack rocks, and then one evolved who could crack rocks, and they did really well, and they proliferated because they got to fuck a lot because they lived longer. That's
and then it gets
in a nutshell.
It gets so much messier than that too, because like some end up cracking rocks, and then some are doing fine with the seeds that they had before, but then those mix together, and it's such a
and then the soil stops supporting the seeds that they had before, so it's like not even like they evolved out. It's like the land stops supporting the ones that had evolved on a certain track, and they go extinct.
But then you've got like the Song Dynasty, like fossilized bamboo problem, which is like the climate gradually changed.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's doers and don'ters, but it is funny. It is funny that you bring that up, because that is exactly what Richard Owen was saying. He was just like, "No,
I'm a light bulb man."
Yeah, me with my gigantic forehead and my tiny chin. I think you are very wrong, Mr. Darwin. Richard Owen studied the fossil remains of various British dinosaurs, like the Megalosaurus and Iguanodon. Megalosaurus is very much like kind of an older T-Rex style predatory animal, and then the Iguanodon is kind of like a reptilian buffalo, like a herd animal.
Okay, yeah.
Richard Owen, though, is super fucking important because he is the guy who coined the term dinosaur.
Oh, yeah, good for him.
Again,
pterosaurs.
Sorry,
wasn't fucking talking about pterosaurs.
Nobody's talking about goddamn pterosaurs. Different.
Those are the bad guys in Beast Wars, right? It's all the pterosaurs or whatever.
No, pterosaur is one of the Predacons.
Okay.
Galar.
Pterosaurus, excuse me, discovered in 1784 by Italian naturalist Cosimo Collini. FYI.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we only had one in the past, and we talked about Aerodactyl already, so
sure.
Italian naturalist doesn't get any fucking credit for this guy. In Pokemon, the Galar region, that is the setting for Sword and Shield, is based very much on England, and the English countryside. They have like that, like whatever, that like megalith, like carving in the side of the mountain thing that's there, which you can see like the movie Religulous or whatever with Bill Maher. So the kind of Victorian era science very much inspired the fossil Pokemon of Sword and Shield, but can I get some USA in the chat?
USA. I'm not in chat, sorry.
Oh, yeah. The fossil Pokemon in the Galar region were very much inspired by something called the American Bone Wars.
Hell yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about this somehow. I think I might have listened to a podcast about it. Yeah.
The American Bone Wars, like, honestly, I would love to do it just like a full fucking thing about at some point, because it is hilarious. It is very much like an action park sort of thing. Like, it is
like
just
one guy who stole another guy's idea and took credit for this, and like this guy's trying to dig up this before this guy can. And
it involves two men who I will get into right now.
Okay.
The Bone Wars is a name given between just like the scientific rivalry between Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope, which are both excellent names.
Copium. Drinker's Cope, dude. This is a Twitch meme.
Drinkers Huff and Copium, dude.
Yeah.
I would have thought that the guy with the name Othniel would be the drinker, right?
Yeah.
A name like that.
Othniel Charles Marsh. These two men were hell-bent on finding and describing the most dinosaurs possible. They had the original gotta catch 'em all energy. Like, they are pretty much the like Pokemon trainer. But if you kind of like look at it as like as relevant to this whole thing.
He turns his hat backwards and then publishes a study that his partner wrote or whatever. And like,
But of course he's like in Montana, so he like flips a cowboy hat backwards so it looks exactly the same. These men used their vast fortunes to fund multiple expeditions around the United States, and in the end, combined, discovered and described over 130 species of dinosaur.
Not even 150, dude. Lame.
No. Yeah. And Sigamori did it better, bitch.
They didn't even finish the Pokedex. Come on. What the fuck? Their Dinodex, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like, Marsh had North Dakota version, and then Cope had South Dakota version, and they hated each other, so they didn't trade.
Oh, that's why they only got to 130.
With their 19th century steam link cable, like the crank on it. Yeah. So like politics, two rich guys bitching at each other got a lot of attention. However, unlike politics, these guys suffered grave consequences for their actions and actually left the world a better place than it was when they came into it.
Nice.
Interest in paleontology went up because these guys were well publicized. And funding for scientific expeditions and like the understanding of natural history also went up because these two rich dudes were just like competing to find the most dinosaurs.
Oh.
Marsh discovered and described animals like Triceratops, Stegosaurus, and Brontosaurus. So Marsh was a fucking OG.
Those are some A tiers, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I might put Triceratops in the S tier, honestly.
Yeah.
That's a front runner for me.
Stegosaurus is also S. Like, if you took like somebody out of a coma, they would know what a Stegosaurus is.
Yeah, especially if they've been in a coma for millions of years. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we cloned this guy who's been in a coma for a million years and asked him what a Stegosaurus was.
He said oog, which means yes.
Yeah.
Oog once for yes, oog twice for no.
Yeah, you've got like the nurse like shampooing his hair. It's like, he uggs once for yes and uggs twice for no. Like into the little like the aluminum dish that they have in the hospital. Like the crescent
to shampoo his hair, she just has to squeeze out the sponge like above his brow, and it's so sloped it just all goes back into his hair.
Yeah, it's like a roof. Oh my god. So while like Marsh is definitely the OG dinosaur wise, Cope on the other hand had discovered animals like Diplodocus, which is a popular enough long-necked dinosaur, and Elasmosaurus, which is the basis for the Loch Ness Monster.
Cool.
As well as naming the entire clade of animals Archosaur. So the kind of like scientific term for crocodiles, birds, and dinosaurs was coined by drinker Cope himself.
Did we get to the the fish one yet?
Oh yeah, baby. We got a couple minutes to go.
Okay, it's still coming.
Oh hell yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's very relevant because Sword and Shield and the kind of Victorian era like steampunk science and the Bone Wars are the reason. Like why the whole thing is included. Frankly, Sword and Shield, like I said at the beginning, is the reason I wanted to do an episode about paleontology, and like the Dunkleosteus Pokemon is like that's my S tier, like weird ass old animal basically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Fame and sexy capitalism ensured that this would not be an entirely scientific war, because both Cope and Marsh took fragments of like skeletons that they had but couldn't describe properly and just like fucking slammed them together. They were they literally made like griffins and shit like that. They were just like, yep, all right, okay,
Chimera.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, they are called chimeric animals. Like these things that they would describe.
Found one like way back when that looked like a swirly. And it looked like kind of like an ammonite or whatever, but they found out it was attached to a shark, and they couldn't figure out where it fit.
Oh yeah, it's a saw blade fucking thing.
Yeah, there's a shark that its bottom jaw had a spinning saw blade of teeth that would just bring. Yeah, they were like trying to put it on the dorsal fin, on the forehead. They couldn't figure out where the saw blade went, but it was the bottom jaw, and it looks ridiculous, but it's scary.
Again, another point on the board for Sir Richard Owen for saying that like Charles Darwin's theory of evolution was just like, well, yeah, there was nuts that needed cracking. It's just like, oh no, there was like a bunch of experimental sharks.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason.
We probably still don't know for sure, but they're pretty sure that the swirly thing was the bottom jaw of a shark. Yeah.
Especially because sharks, famously, still don't have bones, and so don't fossilize well.
Right.
Yeah.
They're made of cartilage. Mm-hmm. Which is the same problem we have for frogs and salamanders and like other amphibians, basically.
Yeah. And amphibians are made of drywall.
Yes. Yep. I've got 2 behind me. Little plaster casts. Yep. Although like sometimes they kind of got like Cope and Marsh didn't get super creative all the time making chimeric monsters. Cope at one point took the head off an Elasmosaurus and just put it on the tail and claimed that an animal that had a short neck and a long tail was a different animal.
Oh yeah, you buy one Lego set, but you can make 6 different things, right? So
correct.
And look, this one has hands for ears. Indeed, a marvelous new dinosaur.
And ears.
I guess it's like Edward Drinker Cope, like by association, I guess, like invented Mr. Potato Head, like basically just like swapping the bits around. So the Bone Wars ruined both men's reputations and finances. Like they destroyed each other's lives competing to dig up dinosaur bones. But Marsh and Cope's habit of turning dead animals into like OC do not steals was the direct inspiration for Kara Liss, who is the woman who will resurrect your fossil Pokemon in Sword and Shield, along with the like. They were also like inspired by the misassembled dinosaur statues that are in Crystal Park in London.
Because sounds like she doesn't do a very good job with that name, but
she is careless. Yeah,
careless.
Exactly.
Unlike other games, you have to give Careless 2 fossils instead of 1 to get a Pokemon out of her, and she doesn't so much clone them as like kind of just laugh in the face of God. And so there's like a chart basically. So you do have like the far left, far right, like whatever. Like you do have like that kind of like chart, basically the 4 quadrants on your Cartesian plane of fossil Pokemon, and they can be combined in different ways by this woman who does not know what animals are. All 4 potential Pokemon are barely cohesive animals, begging for death, and none of them even have sexes, and they are some of the only Pokemon who are incapable of breeding. They also do not evolve.
Nice. Good for them.
She is just ejecting, like, well, here we go. Here's God's mistake. Enjoy. Get it to level 100, I guess, kid.
Let's spin the wheel.
Yeah, basically.
Looks like you got hand ears again, my friend.
Yeah. It's like Boggle with, like, Mr. Potato Head parts inside.
Hand ears? Is that the deer instead of the antlers, they have jazz hands?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. The parts she worked with were the waist-up front half of some kind of raptor or bird, coming from the bird fossil, the lower half of a stegosaurus-looking animal, coming from the drake fossil, the head and fins of a Pokemon resembling Dunkleosteus, which is the 400 million year old armored fish with like a shearing beak. Dunkleosteus is really cool because the only part of it that fossilizes is the front of its head, and it had armored eyeballs as well.
Hell yeah.
And it's often found with half-digested other fish, too. It was known for being really greedy and often choking because it would eat so much. It would just, like, so aggressively eat everything that if you find a dunk, you'll probably find another fish, like, half eaten next to its head.
Dunkleostean donuts.
Yeah. And it was huge.
It's a big motherfucker, too.
It was like 9 meters long. Like, what the fuck? I saw the fossil. I was like, okay, yeah, that's like a scary looking fish. But when it's like, its head is as tall as your torso, it's like, well, that's a much scarier now.
And it would eat you and like enough people until it would literally choke. It just wants to eat so bad.
Yeah, it's like willing to rupture its own stomach, basically, to stay alive. Yeah.
It's funny looking at this right now because I realize I got the Kurzgesagt calendar, and I'm realizing this is the Like it's literally February is like the age of the fish because it talks about all the prehistoric periods.
Yeah.
And Dunkleosteus is on my calendar right now in my living room.
Hell yeah.
It is one of my
Didn't even put it together.
One of my favorite animals. Like I have a character in the comic I'm writing that is also a Dunkleosteus. Like I love them. They're like so fucking neat.
I was watching a Twitch stream and it just happened to be on today, guys. Today's the dunk day. It's
day.
in the cultural zeitgeist for whatever reason.
Yeah. A 500 million-year-old fish. It's kind of remarkable. It's like one of the first animals also with like a functioning jaw.
Oh, cool.
Right. Because there's like, I think like the first animal with a backbone, which like we all trace our ancestry back to, is called like Pikaia or whatever, but it was like a filter feeding fish that just had like a rod inside of it that was made of calcified whatever material or something. But like Dunkleosteus, like as you've seen, is a fucking nightmare monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's S tier Pokemon.
Also, the Pokemon you can get out of it are also very good. Yeah. So it had the shearing beak, and then they also had the after the Dunkleosteus head, they had the decapitated body of what looks like a Loch Ness monster, kind of like a plesiosaur, kind of going back to Anning, basically like Mary Anning, and her discoveries in England as well. All of their scientific like Pokedex entries read like excuses. So now you guys can start going through the spoiler tags and maybe quickly describe to me the animal that you see. Starting with the one on top.
It looks like a Pokemon who's wearing. It looks like a little tiny dragon that's wearing like a T-Rex pants, basically, and it's got a full body T-Rex as pants, and then
it's got that got just the bottom half of an hourglass figure.
Yeah,
you know. It comes to a pinhead, kind
like
of.
a child above the belt, and then like dummy thick below.
So that is
in Jamie's words. That child is dummy thick.
It's a child wearing the suit of a big dummy thick. Yeah.
So if anybody's gonna clip my climate denial, clip that one too, if you don't mind. So that is Draco Zolt. It has the front half of a bird poking out of the back half of what is probably like a Stegosaurus or something. The animal's hips are easily 3 or 4 times wider than its entire waist, like the boys just said. And the Pokedex entry states that the animal was very powerful, but somehow starved itself to death by eating all of the plants.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the next one, it's the same face and same head. Its lower half seems to be like a shark with feet that turns into like a melting vanilla ice cream like at the top of the torso, and then just the neck and like the hands poking out of that.
Yeah.
It really looks like one monster wearing 2 lower halves of dinosaurs. It doesn't look like it's one.
Are we sure this like little yellow head is not just like the trickster Pokemon who just like keeps tricking the scientist Carolus into, or maybe she's the fraudster and she just has like this like pet snake or whatever that she keeps like dressing up in different outfits and giving to people, convincing them she's created something new.
In the Victorian era, you could probably just like dress up your pets and like tell Oxford University you had discovered a new animal, frankly. So that is Arctovish, or excuse me, that's Arctozolt, and that does have the upper bird half and the kind of Loch Ness Monster lower half, except the fact that the upper half is visibly freezing to death at all times.
He has a runny nose in the picture. He's clearly
exactly. Yeah. The Pokedex states that this animal generates electricity through its shivering, basically, and it died out because it was too slow. So again, it is very much this woman cloned this Frankenstein's monster and was just like, oh yeah, like it's electric ice, so it's shivering, and that must generate its electricity. Other than the fact, like, to kind of betray the fact that she had corrupted 2 different animals, basically.
Eventually, it walked out onto the ice and lit itself on fire.
Yes,
to try and warm up.
Just like the thing.
Yeah.
Next, what do you see?
So it looks like if you took like a T-Rex and you like chopped it off right in front of its back 2 legs, And it even looks like it's got like a straight chop. Like if you harvested a tail in Monster Hunter and brought it home, this is what it would look like. And then on the tip of the tail, there's a head. So yeah, it does look like a Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, so it's clearly the Dunkleosteus head. This one,
yes, it is.
It is the back half of the first one we talked about, the Stegosaurus half, but it is like Peter said in the Bone Wars when that one proto paleontologist put a head on something's tail and said it's a new dinosaur. Like Carolus has clearly done that and just put the head at the end of the tail and said no, it's new now.
That is entirely correct. The Pokedex entry that I guess Carolus wrote after she had cloned this monster said Dracovish allegedly went extinct by overhunting its prey, or possibly because it could run very fast but could not breathe on land.
It's running from pond to pond. That's why it evolved to run so fast.
That's what I was gonna say.
Just like booking it, basically.
Yeah.
It's
underwater,
like
takes off running.
And you got one more to close out the episode.
The most normal.
This guy looks. He's got the shark body, except the feet are fins now, as they should be. It's got the Dunkleosteus head, but the mouth is actually like a hairline, it looks like, on the top of his head. And he's got kind of like
I didn't notice that until you mentioned it. It's looking straight up, like its head's on backwards. You're right.
Yeah, that's it. It's like the top of its head from the last Pokemon is now the front of its face, essentially, and the front of its face from the last Pokemon is now the top of its head. So it's kind of just rotated.
It's got like two faces when you look at it that way. Wow.
Yeah, and then it's got almost like a very whale-like face, where it kind of doesn't have like a visible mouth and seems to be like a filter feeder, if anything.
Yeah. So you guys are completely correct. The Pokedex states that Arctovish was, again, an apex predator that could use the kind of Loch Ness body's ice powers to freeze its prey. However, it died due to the difficulty it had eating because its face is straight up upside down.
Wow. I wouldn't have caught that until you mentioned it, Ethan. I thought that it just had a new face facing forward, but yeah, you're right. It is.
No, that is it. Is the Dunkleosteus head is just like slammed onto the front of a different body in the wrong direction. There was
it's like she was screwing it on and then like over screwed it too far and couldn't get it around for like another full turn and just said screw it, that's good enough.
She stripped the threads basically.
That's the perfect time to say screw it, by the way.
Yeah, this one was also funny because there was a secondary Pokedex entry saying that like it drowned itself, which is kind of funny because I know that if you drag a shark backwards, you can drown it.
No way.
Basically. So the fact that its head is in the wrong direction, she was like, well, yeah, they went extinct because they just couldn't breathe properly. But yeah, that is paleontology, and that is the fossil Pokemon. I know it's a longer one, which sometimes people enjoy, and I'm sorry if it kind of exhausted you or whatever, but yeah, I've been your host, Peter O'Donoghue. You can find me at Loreboys Podcast on Instagram. Maybe we can shake hands in July 2022 at Montreal Comic Con if you want, because I'm going to be there, and the lads, God willing, will be as well.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for everything. And boys, what's up?
If you guys like the show, leave us a review or just tell your friends about it. We'd love to get them on board the Loreboys train as well. We do have an Instagram, which is Loreboys Podcast on Instagram, which you guys can check out to see Pete's doodles. Pete will draw a Dunkleosteus for you if you ask real nice, and he's in the mood and he decides to do it, basically.
I already did, actually. You can go back and find one.
There you go. Go back and find Dunkleosteus somewhere on our Instagram page.
It's neat.
Jamie, is there anything you wanted to plug?
If you're playing on Lost Ark, get on NA Galator server and we'll play together. I'm already in endgame, but I want you to play, and then when you quit, send me all the shit that you'll never use.
Jamie's starting to serfdom early.
Hell yeah.
You got to. Just get in the Discord. I chat with folks there like literally every day. We post memes, we hang out, post music, dog pics, cat pics. Come show off your dog. You know what? You got a cute dog, got a cute cat? I dare you to post it in our Discord.
I fucking dare you, coward.
Fuck you.
I dare you. Yeah.
Do it.
I dare you to post a picture of your pet Dunkleosteus. If you guys want to support the show financially, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys. Links should also be in the description of the episode. It means the world to us if you guys decide to fund this mad science experiment that we call the Lore Boys podcast. And of course, if you guys don't trust Patreon, we do have Lore Boys Prime, where we are, of course, running our usual genetic experiments this week. We know nothing about it, but we are looking for fossils to mint to the blockchain. We know nothing about computers. We know nothing about GPUs. We know nothing about fossils, but we are asking that you send us all of the above. Essentially, send us computers. Send us fossils, and we're just gonna mash them all together and see what comes out.
Wait,
basically.
I want to buy the pug skeleton, because then everyone's gonna think like I'm that crazy scientist who put the fish's head on backwards. Yeah,
I'm putting a bored ape on top of a Chihuahua's body, essentially. Bored ape head on a Chihuahua's body.
Very cool.
And it counts as a database entry or something. So what I'm basically saying is we're starting a pyramid scheme, and you guys should get in at the ground level.
Mm-hmm.
That's the funnest level to start building a pyramid is at the ground level,
at the
right?
bottom.
So, I got what costs today, Lore Boys.
Lore Boys.
Oh man, I haven't needed to restring my guitars in a long time. Probably because I'm not playing them as much as I used to, but that's something I don't miss.
Every once in a while in VC, you'll be like, whatever, singing Pearl Jam and scare away some new person.
Oh yeah, you got to. That's if you're not down with the jam, then we can't hang, man.
I think I say pearls before swine, right?
Yeah.